Hey there, Metalheads, Flying V here, and today I'm going to show you guys how to disassemble and reassemble a 40GB PS3. This will also apply to any model of the fat PS3 that has the mache silver faceplate piece and 2 USB ports. If your PS3 does not look exactly like this, click off the video right now because this video will be useless. But if you do have a PS3 that looks exactly like this, continue watching. First thing you want to do is that you want to take the hard drive out. So, you take off the cover here. This is kind of difficult, but you take it off. There's a little blue screw here. You can take a fine Phillips head screwdriver and remove that. So once the screw is out, you can simply pull to the right and pull back, and the PS3 hard drive will come out. If you want, you can put the cover back on. You don't have to. Now, next you want to do is that you want to remove or cut the warranty sticker, so you can remove this little rubber cover here. Once you have it removed, you will reveal another screw. You can remove it with a Torx 10 security screwdriver. You can find these on eBay for very cheap. You can probably find these on Amazon as well. I don't know for sure, because I haven't looked, but I know you can find them on eBay. So, once you have this, you can go inside here and remove the screw. Once the screw is loose, you can keep sliding this piece here to the left until you get the screw out. Now, once you've done that, you can slide to the left and pull it out. Then you can put this piece off to the side. Now, you'll come to the second part of the case. And there are 7 screws holding the case in. Now, 6 of them are the same size with the exception of 1. Now, the one that's a different size is the one in the upper right-hand corner here. The one that has an S and an arrow next to it. That is the one that is smaller than the rest of the screws. I know it's hard to see at from the camera angle, but it's there. So you pretty much take a number 2 Phillips head screwdriver, go to the 7 screws, and remove. Okay, so once all the screws are out, you want to push the tab in the upper right-hand corner here, and then once you get it released, you can simply lift the lid up. That is the inside of PS3. You can put the lid off to the side. Now, let's start digging in. Okay, first thing we're going to focus on here is the disk drive. First thing I want to do is remove this little power cable here. Jiggle it back and forth. Just be careful with it, because you don't want to break the cable. Okay, so it's out. Then you can lift the disk drive out. If you want, you could remove this ribbon cable here from either side, but I'm going to do it from this side, okay? You simply flip this little black flap up here and pull the ribbon cable out. Then you can put the disk drive off to the side. Okay, next thing we're going to focus on is the Wi-Fi piece. So, it's this piece right here. You want to remove this little screw here. You take a number 2 Phillips head screwdriver and remove the screw. Put this off to the side. You can take this off and plug this little cable right here. Then you can put this off to the side. Okay, now we're going to focus on this little piece right here. I don't know what this is called. Please let me know in the comments. So, first thing I want to do is that you want to remove these 2 screws. As always, take a medium-sized Phillips head screwdriver and remove those 2 screws. Okay, now we're going to focus on the power supply. Now there are 3 screws holding the power supply in the front, and 2 in the back here. So, once again, take a medium-sized Phillips head screwdriver and remove the 5 screws. Okay, once the 5 screws are out, you then want to disconnect the cable. You want to disconnect the power cable for the power cable. Maybe a little difficult, but you should eventually get it. There you go. And then on the back here, when you want to lift it up off of these 2 little prongs here, and then remove this other cable that plugs into it. And there's your power supply. Now you can put this off to the side. Okay, the next thing you can do is remove the screw that holds in the ground cable. You can take the same screwdriver we've been using and remove that screw. Bear in mind, it is a different size than all the other screws we've been removing. Okay, now it's time to remove all the screws around the board. Now bear in mind that this screw and this screw here are different sizes than all the others. So take that into account when removing all these screws. Take the same screwdriver we've been using and remove those screws. Once all the screws are out, you want to lift from these 2 sides here, and the board should eventually come out. Then this bottom part of the case you can put off to the side. Okay, if you want to remove this back black piece here, you simply pull out like this, it'll snap off. To remove this little block here, you pull this here. Yeah, that's completely optional, but you can do that if you want. But once you've removed this, you can put this off to the side. Okay, if you want to remove the fan, there are 3 screws holding it in place. There's also a cable that's connected right in there. So to remove these screws, take the same Phillips head screwdriver and remove those screws. Okay, once the screws are out, you want to pull the cable out from its little things here, from where it's being held down. Then you want to remove this cable here. Then you can lift the fan out. Then you can put this off to the side. Okay, I'm not going to strip it down any further than this, because stripping it down any further than this is a pain in the neck. So, it's time to put it back together. First thing is reseat the fan, plug it back in here. Okay, and then realign the cable here. And then put the 3 screws back. Okay, something that I forgot to mention is that the 3 screws that screw into the fan are different sizes, as well as the other screws we've been removing. So just take that into account when putting the fan back in. Okay, now if you want to put this piece back in, you want to line these holes up with these holes. So you line them up with the holes, and then you simply slide it back in here. And when you're at snap, that means it's back in. So let's move on to the next step. Okay, while you're on it, I recommend screwing back in the ground cable. Remember that the screw that holds it in is a screw with a washer on it. So, yeah. Now, time to put it back into the casing. So, I want to bring over the bottom part of the casing. It was a little dusty, but not a big deal. Simply remount the board here. Make sure it's on top of all the screw holes. And make sure that the black piece in the back is lined up properly. And the board is now back into the case. Let's move on. Now you want to put all the screws that hold the board into the casing back in. Now, some notes. One of the screws, which is this length, goes in here. And there's a screw that is this length, goes in here. The rest of the screws are this size, so just follow those steps and put all the screws back in. Okay, so now all the screws are back in. A few things to note is that where you put the screws is in every place that's marked with a little arrow there. I mean, you're not going to see it on them at the camera, but there are little arrows all around the metal shielding that are printed on there. So just take that into account when putting all the screws back in. Okay, next thing you can do is that you can take the ribbon cable here and reseat it in its little slot there. Next, you can also take this cable and plug one end into the power supply. Alright, you can reseat it on top of these metal prongs here. And this end you plug in here. Now, take all these screws that originally held the power supply in place, which are this size, and there are 5 of them, and put them back in the power supply. Okay, so now the power supply is back in. You can do this at any time, but once you have the board back into the casing, you can put the hard drive back in. Okay, so we slide it in here, slide to the left, take the blue screw and a fine Phillips head screwdriver, put that screw back in. Alright, now you can put this piece back in. So, first thing you want to do is slide the ribbon cable back into its slot here. Make sure it's in there all the way. Don't push too hard. Once it's in there, simply flip that little black flap down and it's reconnected. Next, reseat it here, and there are 2 holes for screws. So then just put these 2 screws back. Okay, now it's time to put the disk drive back in. So your ribbon cable here, you take it and you slide it back in here. It may take you a little bit of fidgeting around, but you should eventually get it. Then, zoom out here, you reseat the disk drive, and take this little plug and plug it back in. Now, the Wi-Fi adapter, you remount it all the way in the back here. And then this little cable here, you plug back in here. And then there's a screw holding it in, so take that screw and then you put it back in. Screw is back in. This is how it's supposed to be mounted. It's supposed to be mounted right here, with the screw in right here. So, let's turn the console around again. And now, it's time to put the lid back on. So you take the lid here, and you line it up with little tabs that go into these little slots here. And you snap back in there like that. And then take your 7 screws and put them back into the case. Okay, so now the main part of the lid is back on. Now, we put this piece back on. So, first thing you want to do is take your Torx 10 security screw, stick it back in this hole here, reseat it on here, and slide to the right. And then, turn the console on its side, take your Torx 10 security screw, and put that screw back in. Okay, once that's done, you can take your little cover, stick it back on. And now, your PS3 has been fully reassembled. So that's pretty much it. Okay guys, that does it for this video. Please be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. May the 4th be with you. Mosh hard.